establish loving relationship with others, I'll become very lonely, because I'll be actually completely selfish. And love means to be selfless. I mean, we see that in, we see reflections of love in this world also. There's parents and the child, and the parents they actually giving up their independence for the sake of the child. The mother is there always sacrificing her independence for the child, and in this way the loving relationship is established. But you can have a mother, I mean, something there are mothers like that who who actually don't start thinking about, but I have to also have my own life, and then when they start like Jarno told about his case when he was 12 years old, and his parents, they separated like that, and suddenly his mother came out, and she started having her second youth, desperate second youth, and she was out, and she was out at night and like that, and the man and like that. Jarno had to stay back and take care of his two younger brothers, and so what did that do to the love between Jarno and his mother? Well, that was kind of cracked. He experienced that actually. I'm not so important. My mother, she has her own sense gratification values. She has a higher value in her life, and so that broke. Of course, but if you say, but she was free. She was exercising her freedom to do what she wanted to do. And I know if she had a feeling of being very free. It must be a completely frustrating situation. But he told that story. So, but that actually illustrates, well, that kind of freedom, I don't want, what others are, considering others like that. That's, I just want to be free, and but that, that means actually the basis of love is completely ruined. You will not experience love. Actually, you become very lonely and frustrated person with that understanding of, although one thinks that this is, in the modern world, we have this idea, goes back, for example, goes further back, for example, hippies, we had this idea, just be free, we're not bound by anything, and then we experience it. We thought that we'd experience great love and unity and harmony and so on. But those of us who were practicing, what did we experience? Complete loneliness, it has. But most here in the Western part of the world, at least the propaganda mainly by the media and the big businesses, they promote this kind of freedom because it actually makes people slaves and so on. So and most are not able to actually see through it that this idea of us being free is actually the antithesis. Is that the right word?
Antithesis.
Antithesis. It's called antithesis. Isn't that how you pronounce it? Anyway, whatever. This is completely ruins any chance of actually having a loving relationship. Love means that one sacrifices for others. One is obliged to others and sacrifices for others, and that's why then love can be really experienced. This is why, for example, the Ramayana is such an amazing book. It's filled with love because all the personalities in the Ramayana, of course, except Ravana like that, but all the great personalities, those we adore, they are sacrificing for Dharma and for the sake of each other like that, and therefore the relationships are incredible. And or you see that also like in traditional cultures. You go back in our culture, and even more go back in the Eastern culture, that's not about this individualism like that. It's a community. It's a like that. That is and each individual will exist for the sake of the community. It's not the individual is not the important thing. The community is the important thing. And there you will also see that actually the bonds are so tight. Friends are you have actually close friendships. You have friends for life and family relationships and so on, because everyone gives up their independence, and this way real love is actually established. So that also applies in devotional service when we develop our love for Krishna. Well, we give up our independence. We have there's a devil inside ourselves that rebel, give up my independence, and just do what I'm told. There's no, to simply work like a slave. This is what we do like this, and don't do anything. And lose my freedom. Yes, but it's voluntary. You give your freedom. You give your freedom. You get Krishna's love, because Krishna also gives up his freedom. And then one starts experiencing the actual love, which is really what can satisfy us. Freedom doesn't, this kind of pseudo-freedom doesn't satisfy us. It actually makes us frustrated and lonely, but love is what really can satisfy us. And that's, as I said, the Chetudapana Martin verse, this is a taste we all are hankering for. You have to understand actually the price for getting that loving relationship with Krishna, and also as experienced, amongst devotees, comes from giving up one's freedom voluntarily, but one gives up one's freedom and simply executes. Instead of having one's own desires, one has accepts Krishna's desires as one's own, and sacrifices one's own ideas. The more one is able to do that, the more one will actually experience Krishna's reciprocation, and Krishna will always also be there. And anyway, it's a deep topic, and it's very hard to speak deeply about, because it takes someone who's realized on it to really speak on. But it's it is what we are. This is the goal of this Krishna consciousness movement, and we should not be afraid that we'll be lacking anything. Krishna, he says that if you simply develop a relationship with me like that, everything will be provided. All that we can, Krishna, he preserves all that we have, and he will carry what we lack. Everything will be given to us. All protection here in this verse is about protection, that Krishna's devotee is always protected. No one can kill a devotee. Krishna is there, and of course sometimes the bodies are killed, but that doesn't mean the devotee is not destroyed. And also sometimes, very often, we even experience that the devotees' bodies are protected in amazing ways. And devotee experiences that. Sometimes we've been in massive dangers where, and Krishna, he was there, saved us. And this is actually, if you have experienced that, being saved by Krishna from, a situation where otherwise you'd be killed, for example, and one really starts getting, so close to Krishna. You know what I mean? When I just became a devotee, before I moved into the temple and so on, but I started reading Prabhupada's books, and I had and I was living in my former relations, and with some were actually two families living together, and we had to. The house we were living in was quite a big house, and it was heated by firewood. We had to go out in the forest. There was some big forest came along with that house, and so we had to go out and cut all the firewood ourselves. Go in the summer, cut all the firewood and bring it back and dry it and use it for the winter. And then this other boy who I was living with, and I had a wife and child, he had a wife and child, we were sharing a house together, it's like that. And so we were out there cutting wood and then driving it home. We had a tractor with a big trailer driving it home. And then I was there on that tractor, driving. I remember it so vividly. The trailer was loaded with firewood, heavy, and I had to drive uphill, and it was quite muddy. And then and then I set full speed on, was driving up, and then somehow or other I shifted gear, and my foot slipped on the clutch, and so it gave a kind of a jerk that made instead of the tractor going more forward, it started sliding backwards. Starting steep, and there was a steep slope on the side, and I started sliding, just like that, sliding over down the slope. And that's when the tractor like that, and there was no protection, it was just an open tractor. So when the tractor goes down and then turns, starts rolling, you killed on the spot. You don't have a chance. So I was doing, when it starts sliding back, then I say Krishna, Krishna, somehow or other, and then I started sliding down the slope, and then I was sure I was going to be killed here, and then I was sliding, and then boom, there was just a tree right there that stopped the trailer and the tractor right there. It was the only tree that was there. Krishna just placed the tree somewhere. Even thinking about it, I get like goose pimples all over my body. It's really scary. But Krishna, somehow Krishna saved me in that. I've had several situations where I've been saved, and so Krishna, he also protects his devotees' bodies, or aspiring devotees, or something like that. And Krishna, he performs miracles. And that's, I say that in India, that's why many people are so religious, isn't it? Because the traffic in India is wild. And you experience this Krishna's protection, God's protection. There's no other explanation why, killed in the traffic more often. Of course, there are many accidents, many more than here, but the way they drive, there should be 10 times more accidents, 10 times more people are killed. But God is protecting because there's so many devotees there, people that harm devotees.
75,000 people
are killed
in traffic.
In India. That's quite high, isn't it?
It's a little higher than average in Denmark.
Denmark's quite low. Huh?
If you see per inhabitant,
yeah,
it's a little higher, like 50% higher.
Only?
Or something.
That's not much.
There's 1.3 billion people.
Yeah, that's a bunch.
Compared to 5 million.
Yeah.
In Denmark it's around 300.
Yeah, around
300.
People.
Traffic kills every year.
Yeah. Make calculations still at 75,000. It sounds very high.
Sounds high.
Yeah, even for one. But anyway, if it's that low, that definitely proves God's existence. Because I mean, anyway, Krishna is there. You know, he is, and that's it's the essence. You know, we may think that we may have doubts that Krishna can protect us, or that we will get all the fulfillment we want in our life by surrendering to Krishna. But that doubt should be given up. Actually, we have this. Prabhu says, give that doubt up. Krishna, he will provide everything. There's nothing. There will be no lack in one's life by surrendering to Krishna's desire and Krishna's interest. Okay, I know, yeah. Any?
I was just wondering if, like, this attachment at the moment of death, what happens with a devotee who is not attached to the personality of Krishna, but is attached to the mission of his spiritual master?
It's the same. There's no difference. It's even better. It's even better because Krishna, he will only manifest through, you know, his devotee. You don't go to Krishna directly. So it's not different. It's better.
But I was just thinking in terms of, like, because service to Krishna is inevitable, but I was thinking, like, I could imagine being attached to the mission of the spiritual master, then you would stay in the material world, like carrying out the mission.
Maybe not. I mean, but I mean, the mission of the spiritual master is to propagate Krishna consciousness. So how can you not be Krishna conscious if you're attached to the mission of the spiritual master? I mean, the spiritual master's instruction is always think of Krishna and give Krishna to others. So if you're attached to the mission, that means you're always talking about Krishna and thinking about Krishna. And so how can there be any difference? Actually, rather, that's actually when one is most Krishna conscious. Because if your Krishna consciousness is not mediated through the spiritual master, then it's can be some ego. I mean, it's not Krishna's real mission that is being, or I mean, the real Krishna is only mediated through the Guru, through the spiritual master, through the devotees. So I'm just, how can there be a difference? How can the spiritual master's mission, you're so absorbed in the mission that you are not thinking of Krishna? How is that possible? Well, you can. Prabhupada was asked that question also. And then, if devotees when involved in the constructions of big temples, and it was all about cement and bricks and money and so on. But Prabhupada said, no, that is being fully Krishna conscious. There's Krishna's service, and one is actually, when one becomes absorbed like that, one is also aware this is Krishna's cement. These are Krishna's bricks, and this is going to become Krishna's temple, and like that. So one is, one actually develops a very high vision, because one sees that actually the material elements are Krishna's energy. If you might see differently, you might see that this material world is Maya and separate from Krishna. So I have to think of Krishna and push out all the sense objects. And that's my Vaidya approach. So that there actually one is not so Krishna conscious as when you actually understand and you can see and you act on that matter is simply an energy of Krishna and should be engaged in Krishna's service. And there's no danger of utilizing matter for Krishna's service. When you use matter for our sense gratification, then it is Maya. But matter used for Krishna's service is not material. is actually associating with Krishna directly. I don't know if that's... Yeah.
Okay, I have a question about this. Was it Sati Sudha in Russia?
Mm.
And then he died in the labor camp.
What is it, Krishna?
And then the question is, and then this other devotee, he got some injection from this in this psychology hospital.
Mm.
And the Satsuta, he died like in a yoga posture, like this, properly Krishna conscious. But the other one I read about, that he got affected in his mind, and later deviated or got problems. So I'm just...
Yeah, I mean, no, I think he never, I don't think he never deviated. You're talking about Ananda Shanti. But I mean, they somehow or another they did damage his brain, mind with some of the drugs like that. But I mean, he never forgot Krishna, gave up Krishna. He passed away a couple of years ago. I mean, precisely what goes on between him and Krishna and Prabhupada, we don't know. We don't know. And devotees are going. We're going through different experiences. It can be Krishna's. Using his devotees as instruments. He used the Pandavas. They had to go through so much suffering and tribulation. It had nothing to do with their karma or purification. Krishna was simply using them to accomplish his mission and to glorify them also. And in other cases also a devotee has to go through tribulations and trials and suffering and even and so on. Because Krishna is working on him, he's purifying him through that. And it's very hard for anyone outside really to know what goes on. Many of you see devotees also who are deviating and so on. They're still devotees, they're still thinking of Krishna. Krishna might give them a very hard time sometimes and like that. But it's still under Krishna's control, and they're being purified also. And it's just difficult to say what goes on precisely. Why, such a sutta, he left his body. Doesn't Krishna protect? Says here, the devotees never killed. He was killed. Such a sutta was killed. A few other Russian devotees were killed. But no, they were not killed. They died to live, to really start living. But the devotees who survived also, those Krishna also protected. So Krishna, he chose, in some cases, against all odds, to protect someone's life in this body, in this lifetime. Some he chose to bring back to himself. It's all on Krishna's, he has his discretion, it's all up to him. But the devotee is never perished, he never dies. That faith. Is more than faith, that's reality. That's simply reality.
I can just see from my own life that as a child I was looking for relationships and like that much more, but maybe modern society is very antagonistic towards this, and personal relationships is very hard to find, and it makes also the understanding, I think, of spiritual life more difficult, of kind of like getting a grip of how to progress and like that.
Mm. My question must be: isn't it very important to have just materially speaking, functioning relationships, and to go further into spiritual life also? It can help if you have a background where you have good relationships. It helps in spiritual life also, because you know actually somewhat what it takes to have relationship, what love actually means, and you know, I mean, this complete selfishness and like that. You're not habitual. You're not so addicted to that. And we're all addicted to that from what we actually. It's actually a lecture is old. Yeah, but I mean, those who have like something that look like good relationships in the material world, it's an advantage if you didn't have it, but still, you know, if we simply follow the process of devotional service, we take shelter of devotees, and if we simply act for Krishna's, for Krishna's interest, it will all come. We will get everything. I know that's the question, but whatever our situation is, you know, we will be given everything by Krishna if we, surrender to Him. Complete surrender to Him. It will all be provided. Maybe not in the way we expect it. Krishna is not, he's not under our control and dictation, but He knows best what is the best for us. So sometimes we get things we think it's not the best for us, but actually it is the best for us. And if we surrender to it, we'll actually see, yes, that was the best. That was the best thing. Now we have to stop here. It's 8:45. Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Jai. Bhagavatam. Jai.
Namo Vishnu. Namo